It's one of the biggest challenges for any parent, any teacher, anyone who's a mentor. We all want to help guide people to be, good people. But how do we actually do that without it just becoming a list of rules? How do you build a moral compass that really works from the inside out? All right, let's get into it.
We're going to explore an educational approach that was designed to tackle this exact problem. And we'll start with what we're calling the values dilemma.
For the longest time, teaching values was seen as a pretty one-way street. On the left here, you've got the old school method, values inculcation. Think of it like pouring values into a student's head. The teacher's the judge, and the focus is on hammering home specific virtues, honesty, respect, you name it. But check out the right side. This newer idea, values clarification, totally flips that on its head. Here, the teacher's more of a facilitator, and the focus isn't on the specific value itself, but on the process of how a person comes to value it for themselves.
So let's dig a little deeper into this whole self-discovery approach and see how it actually works. Okay, so here's the official definition from our source material. The values clarification approach, it's all about a strategy that helps people become aware of their own personal values, examine them critically, and then make responsible decisions based on them. The two big keywords there are aware and examine. This is an active process, not something you just passively absorb.
So what does this actually look like when you put it into practice? Well, the key is this big shift in focus. It's about building self-awareness, not just demanding that someone obeys the rules. Values are things to be explored, to be talked about, not just dictated from on high. And this is the kicker. It encourages learners to actually explain why they believe something. That's a much, much deeper level of understanding.
But how do you really know if something is a true value and not just, a passing thought or something you were told to believe? Well, this approach gives us a framework for that. Let's take a look at the 7 core criteria. Okay, think of this like a 7-point test. According to the framework from Raths, Harmon, and Simon, for something to count as a true personal value, it has to be chosen freely. You had to have other alternatives, and you had to choose it after really thinking through the consequences. But that's just the choosing part. You also have to prize it, be proud of it, be willing to stand up for it. And then, and this is the most important part, you have to act on it, and not just once, but repeatedly. It's the huge difference between saying you value honesty and actually being an honest person day in and day out.
All right, so that's the philosophy. But how does a teacher or parent actually put this into practice? It all comes together in a pretty clear 6-step process. Just imagine you're a student for a second, and your teacher hits you with this question. This is a classic moral dilemma, right? There is no easy black and white answer, and it immediately forces you to think. And that's the starting point. This flowchart here shows us exactly how that journey works. First, the guide presents a value-laden situation, like that notebook we just saw. Then, they don't give their opinion. They encourage reflection with open questions. From there, they just guide the discussion, helping people navigate all the different viewpoints. The goal is to help each person clarify their choice, what they would do, and, more importantly, why. And finally, the process really sticks when they affirm and express the decision and think about how they'd actually apply that value through action. It's a really clear path from a tough question to a chosen, actionable value.
And it's not just about these one-off dilemmas. This whole approach uses a toolkit of different strategies. You could have students rank what's most important to them. Is it honesty, wealth, family, and then explain their reasoning. You could even do physical exercises, like having them stand on a line in the room to show how much they agree or disagree with a statement. The goal is always the same. Make that internal process of valuing something visible and something you can actually talk about.
Let's take one more example. This one's about responsibility. The group leader's gone. The teacher needs a volunteer to step up. But man, you just want to relax and play. So again, you've got this tension between what you want to do and what you feel like you probably should do.
Now here's where the magic really happens. Instead of just saying, you should be responsible, a facilitator using this approach would ask a question just like this. See how it reframes the whole decision? It's not just about you anymore. It's about your impact on your community, on your friends.
And that single question leads directly to this core idea. The choice isn't really about leading versus playing. It's about your identity. That question forces the student to connect their action to the kind of person, the kind of classmate they actually want to be. It's just incredibly powerful.
So this all boils down to a really fundamental shift in the role of the educator. It really is about guiding, not preaching.
This slide just sums it all up perfectly. The role is not to be a preacher or a judge who has all the answers. The role is to be a facilitator, an ethical guide, Someone who asks the right questions and encourages that deep reflection. You're not handing them a map, you're teaching them how to read their own compass.
Now, it's really, really important to clear up a common misunderstanding here. This does not mean anything goes. It's not about letting someone decide that, hey, selfishness is a great value. The entire process is gently guided toward positive, life-affirming values that help both the individual and the community. The facilitator, after all, is still an ethical guide.
And that really leaves us with this final question to think about. Because at the end of the day, a value that is just inherited or memorized is, well, it's fragile. But a value that has been chosen freely, examined thoughtfully, and acted on over and over again, that's the real foundation of character. And this approach gives us a powerful blueprint for how we can help build it.